Today, I will be discussing the common mistakes that men tend to make during the early stages of erectile dysfunction. These mistakes can have significant consequences, as they may lead to a breakdown in the couple's relationship, and in some cases, irreversible issues may arise. Perhaps the most detrimental of these mistakes is when a man creates a physical and emotional distance between himself and his partner. So why do men do this? The reason is that when they experience feelings of inadequacy and impotence, they often feel embarrassed and reluctant to reveal their vulnerability to their partner, causing them to withdraw and avoid physical intimacy. As a healthcare professional, I've noticed that when patients come to me with erectile dysfunction, many men have already separated from their wives, fiancés, and partners due to the significant stress and anxiety that the condition can cause. This can create emotional turmoil for men as they navigate their next relationship. From a female perspective, it can be challenging to understand why their partner may be experiencing difficulties, leading to suspicions that they may have lost their allure or that there is someone else in the picture. Unfortunately, women may have a completely different perspective on the issue. If the man can guess the thought in the woman's head, he behaves more relaxed. It is common for women to view an erection as a simple physical action, like a man moving his arm up and down. This can lead to misunderstandings in a relationship, as the woman may mistakenly assume that the man's inability to achieve an erection is due to her, leading her to become distant and cold towards her partner. This can create a vicious cycle of blame and mistrust, ultimately causing harm to their relationship. However, in some cases, couples may recognize the problem and choose to tackle it together, seeing it as a shared responsibility that they must work through as a team. When both partners work together, the man's anxiety and stress are much less, making the problem much easier to manage. It's important to note that the love, respect, and trust that these couples have for each other are usually very strong. Because many men are afraid to tell their partner about this problem, and it can be said that the couple relationship suffers. Of course, there is something that affects men. The older men get, the longer it takes to get a full erection. When you are young, it happens in seconds, but as you get older, it takes minutes. If the man loses his concentration and motivation during these minutes, he may lose an erection during sexual intercourse. In this case, should one immediately leave the bed or go back to sleep? No. It is necessary to continue the conversation in bed. If the couple massages each other, says nice words and tries to have sexual intercourse again, it can bring back the erection. As you get older, you may naturally get an erection after sexual intercourse. For men and women have such a problem. There is the thought that a man must always be erected before he makes love. A man may not always be erected before sex. But during this time, there may be an erection in the penis after you start making love. Of course, the female energy of the woman is also very important. The energy that the woman gives to the man is also very important. Apart from that, one of the biggest mistakes that men make is that they do the treatment on the internet or with the advice that they get from their friends. Because some of the erectile dysfunction can be treated. And with that, you miss the chance to treat them. For example, patients may come to us whose blood sugar is in the 400s, whose testosterone, vitamins, and minerals may be very low. Or people may come who really need repair in their couple relationship. They started taking medication a long time ago on the advice of friends. But in the meantime, the main problem underneath continues to grow, and after a certain period of time, the medication he buys on the recommendation of a friend or buys on the internet is no longer enough. For example, a 35-year-old male patient came to see me. The patient said that he had an erection problem for 2 months. He told me it was 2 months. But when I inquired a little, the patient told me that he had been having sexual intercourse for 10 years with epimedium paste from herbalists. But he said that despite using it for the last 2 months, he cannot have sexual intercourse. This means that the patient's erectile dysfunction started 10 years ago, not 2 months ago. If we look, we can find abnormalities in the patient's hormones or vitamins or blood sugar. In those 10 years, the patient transforms from reasons that can be corrected to reasons that cannot be corrected. So that's really important. Because an erection is a health indicator for the body. When these complaints started 10 years ago, when the erection problem started, it actually says that after 5 to 10 years, cardiovascular disease or some other disease can start. In other words, some of the patients who start with these erectile dysfunction complaints get problems like stroke, heart attack and vascular occlusion after 5 to 10 years. Therefore, the patient must take a precaution. Patients need to pay attention to many things, not only erection, but also their lifestyle, diet, and exercise. They need to pay attention to their hormone profile. Finally, erection is not just a medication issue. Both mental and physical functions of the whole body must be in order. As I said before, the relationship between the couple should be built on strong elements. Thank you very much for listening. Best regards.